6 months passed since the Velnar incident. The galaxy had changed in ways both small and large. Human vessels, once feared and avoided, now patrolled the outer regions alongside Council peacekeepers. The results spoke clearly. Pirate activity dropped by 70%. Trade routes that had been too dangerous for decades were now safe. Captain Nari stood on the observation deck of the Indomitable. The ship was now the flagship of the Outer Rim Security Initiative. Beside her, Administrator Kalarin looked out at the stars. She had traveled all the way from her colony to visit the human fleet. "The new medical center opens next week," Kalarin said. Her bioluminescent patterns showed happiness. "We've named it the Sola Wing after your doctor. She saved 47 lives in those first weeks after the attack." Nari smiled. "She'll be embarrassed. Sola doesn't like attention. She does this work because it's right, not for recognition. That's exactly why we're honoring her," Kalarin replied. She turned to face the captain. "I owe you an apology. When I begged you not to come to help us, you were protecting your people," Nari interrupted gently. "You had no reason to trust us. Being afraid isn't a weakness. It's survival instinct. You were scared, but you learned the truth about us. That took courage." On Earth, in the Unified Governance Assembly, Ambassador Hyunwoo delivered a report to the gathered representatives. The chamber was built into a mountain and powered entirely by clean energy. It held delegates from every human nation. "The Galactic Council has formally asked us to expand our security presence," Hyunwoo announced. 14 species have signed mutual defense agreements with humanity. We're no longer the feared newcomers. We're trusted partners." Representative Yuna stood up. She oversaw all military affairs for Earth. "But we must never forget the responsibility that comes with this trust. We command the galaxy's most powerful warfleet. That power must always be balanced with wisdom." "Agreed," Hyunwoo said. "That's why I'm proposing we establish the Jiho protocols named for Commander Jiho, who first explained what should guide us in galactic affairs. He said we are predators in service to the pack, not rulers of it. The Jiho protocols were simple but powerful. Humanity would maintain military strength, but use it only for defense. Every human warship would carry equal resources for relief operations. Human forces would respond to any distress call, regardless of which species sent it or what the politics were. Humanity would never claim territory or demand payment for giving aid." The Assembly voted, and the protocols passed with everyone in agreement. On the Indomitable, Tactical Officer Yuna taught a class to Council military officers. The students represented a dozen different species. They watched carefully as she explained human combat methods using simulations. "The key principle," Yuna explained, "is controlled aggression. Yes, we hit hard and fast, but every action must have a purpose. Destruction for its own sake wastes resources and causes unnecessary suffering. We fight to stop threats, not to annihilate our opponents." A Corvian officer raised a limb to ask a question. "But your history shows humans fought wars of total destruction." "Exactly," Yuna confirmed. "We learned from our mistakes. We paid for those lessons with billions of lives. Now we teach what we learned so others don't have to pay the same terrible price." A young Trelnak officer asked, "Why do you still maintain such powerful weapons if you've learned that war is terrible?" Yuna's expression turned serious. "Because peace isn't free. Someone has to be strong enough to protect those who can't protect themselves. The galaxy tried pretending threats didn't exist. That didn't work. We tried hoping diplomacy would solve everything. That didn't work either. Sometimes the only thing that stops violence is the credible threat of greater violence used in defense." She pulled up images of the Velnar rescue. "But notice what we didn't do. We didn't destroy the Carvax fleet completely. We gave them chances to surrender. We protected civilians even during combat. We stayed to rebuild. Force without restraint is cruelty. Force with restraint is justice." On the Velnar homeworld, something was happening that would have been impossible a year ago. A cultural exchange program brought human students to study with Velnar scholars. Young humans learned Velnar philosophy and art. Velnar students learned human history, not to become warriors, but to understand how a warlike species transformed itself. An elderly Velnar philosopher named Krental spoke to a group of human students. "You come from a world that tried to kill you constantly. You became apex predators to survive, yet you chose to be more than survivors. You chose to be protectors. This isn't weakness wearing the mask of strength. This is strength choosing the harder path." One human student asked, Why is protecting harder than destroying? Because destruction is quick and easy, Krental answered. You can burn down a forest in a day. Growing it back takes generations. You can kill in a moment. Healing takes time and effort. Humanity learned that the strong have two choices: dominate the weak or protect them. Domination is easier. Protection requires constant effort. You chose the harder path. In the Galactic Council chambers, a new proposal was being debated. It was called the Predator Protocol. The name was chosen carefully. It acknowledged that humanity and several other species kept their predatory instincts and abilities. But it created rules for how those instincts should be used. Speaker Thurimal addressed the full assembly. We spent so long fearing humanity that we failed to see what they truly represented. They showed us that admitting your capacity for violence isn't barbaric. Denying it while possessing it is. The Predator Protocol makes official what humanity demonstrated. Those who can fight have a responsibility to fight. For those who cannot. The protocol passed with overwhelming support from almost every species. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Nari received a transmission from Earth. Her family appeared on the screen. Her partner Seungmin smiled at her, holding their two young children. When are you coming home, Mom? Her daughter asked. Nari felt her heart ache. She missed them terribly. Soon, little one. But there's still important work to do out here. After the call ended, Commander Jiho approached with a datapad. New distress call, Captain. A mining colony in Sector 7. They're being attacked by automated defense weapons from an ancient dead civilization. No one else is close enough to help. Nari stood up, her expression changing to the focused intensity her crew knew well. How long until we reach them? 4 hours at maximum speed. Then we don't waste any time. All hands to stations. Prepare for combat operations. She looked at the star field ahead where another crisis waited. Someone needs help. That's all the reason we need. As the Indomitable and its escort ships jumped to faster-than-light speed, Administrator Kalaran watched from her distant colony. She thought about how fear had nearly cost her people their lives, how prejudice had almost blinded her to the truth. Humanity had answered their call not for political gain or territorial control. They came because it was right. They fought because someone needed to. They stayed to rebuild because healing mattered as much as winning. The galaxy had feared Earth's predators. That fear wasn't entirely wrong. Humans were dangerous. But the galaxy had been wrong about why they were dangerous and what they would do with that danger. Humanity brought their warships to the stars not to conquer but to serve. Not to dominate but to protect. They were predators who chose to guard the flock rather than hunt it. And the galaxy, slowly overcoming its fear, was learning that sometimes the best guardian is the one who knows exactly how dangerous the darkness can be, because they've walked through it and found their way to the light. In the end, that's what made humanity truly special. Not their capacity for violence, but their choice to use that capacity only in defense of others. Not their predatory instincts, but their decision to become protectors. The galaxy was safer with humanity in it. And perhaps one day other species would learn what humans had learned, that true strength isn't measured by what you can destroy, but by what you choose to protect. 3 weeks after the battle, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. The council chamber was more crowded than usual. Representatives from over 200 species attended, either in person or through hologram projections. Everyone wanted to discuss the same thing: what humanity did at the Velnar colony. Speaker Thurim Al opened the meeting with unusual seriousness. We have called this assembly to address what we witnessed. The human response to the Velnar crisis has changed our understanding of many things. Councillor Vrethanal stood up immediately, his feathers ruffled with agitation. Changed our understanding? We watched the humans destroy a 74-ship pirate fleet with minimal losses. This confirms every fear we've held since they joined the council. Many species made sounds of agreement. The chamber filled with nervous chittering, worried clicks, and concerned hums. But Administrator Kelleran stood up to speak. The council had invited her as a witness to what happened. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed with an intensity that made everyone pay attention. I begged them not to come, she said clearly. I told Captain Nari that we would rather die than be enslaved by predators. Do you know what she told me later? Everyone waited for her answer. She said, we don't build statues of warriors who conquered the weak. We build them for those who protected others. Kelleran's pattern shifted to show determination. The humans had every opportunity to claim our world. We had no defenses, no weapons, nothing to stop them. But they chose not to. Ambassador Hyunwoo activated a holographic display. If the council permits, I would like to show you something. The display showed Earth spinning slowly in space. The blue and green planet looked peaceful and beautiful. Then the view zoomed in to show cities, forests, and oceans full of life. You've all read our history, Hyunwoo continued. You know that 200 years ago we nearly destroyed this world. Our factories poisoned the air and water. Our wars scarred the land. We had the technology to make our planet uninhabitable. He paused and looked around the chamber. But we didn't. We chose differently. The images changed to show human children planting trees, scientists protecting endangered animals, and cities powered by clean energy. The same species that created weapons of mass destruction also created the technology to heal a dying world. We are predators, counselors. We won't deny that. But we're predators who learned that the greatest strength isn't in destroying things. The greatest strength is in choosing not to destroy. Captain Nari appeared through a hologram from the Indomitable. The Council fears our military power. You should fear it. We have 5,000 years of continuous warfare in our history. We've studied combat and perfected it. But I'll tell you what we learned in those 5,000 years. Winning a battle is easy. Winning peace is the hard part. She gestured, and tactical displays from the Velnar battle appeared in the air. We could have destroyed that entire raider fleet in 10 minutes. We chose not to. We could have claimed the Velnar colony as payment for our help. We chose not to. Every human ship carries enough weapons to level a city, but they also carry doctors, engineers, and teachers. This isn't weakness pretending to be strength. This is what real civilization looks like. Vesuna, the military coordinator, spoke up. Captain Nari is correct. We've studied the battle recordings extensively. The human fleet showed a level of control that we didn't believe possible. They destroyed threats without unnecessary damage. They protected civilians even during combat. This shows military discipline that exceeds many council species. Counselor Vrethnal wasn't satisfied. But they still have the capability. Today they chose restraint. Tomorrow they might choose conquest. Lieutenant Commander Jiho, present to deliver a report, responded with respect. Counselor, every species in this chamber has that capability. The Corvians fought a terrible civil war 3 centuries ago that killed billions. The Trelnak have battle fleets. The difference isn't capability. The difference is intent and discipline. He stood straighter. Humanity didn't stop being predators when we joined the galactic community. We learned to direct those instincts toward protecting others instead of destroying them. Every human ship name is a promise. Indomitable means we will not give up defending the innocent. Relentless means we will pursue justice without stopping. Defiant means we will stand against tyranny. Administrator Kelaran spoke again. The Carvax raiders terrorized the outer regions for decades. The council knew about them but couldn't respond fast enough. The humans arrived within hours. They fought with overwhelming force, then stayed to help us heal. They asked for nothing in return. Her patterns pulsed with fierce conviction. If this is what predators look like, then the galaxy needs more predators. The chamber erupted into loud debate. Some counselors argued that humanity was too dangerous to trust. Others pointed out that the Velnar, known throughout the galaxy for wisdom and peaceful nature, were defending the humans. Finally, Speaker Thurim called for order. The chamber slowly quieted down. We must face the truth, Thurim said. Humanity terrifies us because they remind us of what we fear about ourselves. Every species here evolved through competition and conflict. We like to believe we've left our violent origins behind, but when the Carvax attacked, when civilians were dying, it was the species that openly admits their predatory nature who responded. He looked directly at Ambassador Hyunwoo. Perhaps the most civilized among us aren't those who deny their capacity for violence. Perhaps the most civilized are those who master violence and choose to use it only to defend others. The council voted on a formal resolution. It was close, but the vote passed. The council officially acknowledged humanity's response to the Velnar crisis as exemplary and heroic. More importantly, they issued a request for human warships to help establish security patrols in the outer regions of the galaxy. After the vote, Ambassador Hyunwoo spoke privately with Speaker Thurim. Thank you for trusting us, Hyunwoo said. Thurim's tentacles moved in a pattern that meant uncertainty. I'm not sure it's trust yet, Ambassador, but perhaps it's the beginning of understanding. You were right when you said we feared you because you remind us of ourselves. Every species has darkness in their past. Humanity simply refuses to hide from it. We can't hide from it, Hyunwoo replied. Our history shaped who we are, but it doesn't have to define who we become. That's the message we want to share with the galaxy. You can acknowledge your capacity for violence without being controlled by it. Thurim-Al was quiet for a moment. What happens now? Now we prove that today wasn't an exception, Hyunwoo said. We prove that humanity can be trusted with power, because we understand the responsibility that comes with it. We show the galaxy that predators can be guardians. Far away on the Velnar colony, the human ships prepared to leave. Their job was done, and Council peacekeepers had arrived to take over security. The Velnar people gathered to watch the departure. Captain Nari stood on her bridge looking at the planet one last time. Take us out, Jiho, nice and slow. Let's not scare anyone. As the human fleet moved away from the colony, thousands of Velnar watched. Many of them waved, a gesture they had learned from the humans. Children held up drawings they had made of the human ships and crew. Kelleran sent one final message to Captain Nari. Thank you for showing us what humanity really is. Nari smiled. Thank you for giving us the chance to show you. Safe skies, Administrator. The Indomitable and her fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading for their next patrol. Behind them, they left a colony that was safe, rebuilt, and forever changed in how they viewed the galaxy's predators. 3 days passed after the battle. The human fleet stayed in orbit around the Velnar colony, just as Captain Nari had promised. They maintained a defensive perimeter, but made no move toward the planet. The captured Carvax pirates were held in the cargo bays of human ships, locked up but not harmed. Administrator Kelleran found herself in a strange situation. The Galactic Council had sent Ambassador Hyunwoo to help with communication, and now she sat in her office with humans for the first time in her life. She was terrified but tried not to show it. Across from her, Captain Nari sat very still. Kelleran had learned that humans often sat motionless when they were thinking. Next to Nari, Chief Medical Officer Sola looked at a datapad with concern on her face. Your colony's medical supplies are very low, Sola said gently. The Carvax bombardment destroyed 3 of your medical facilities. If you allow us, we would like to give you emergency supplies. Kelleran's bioluminescent patterns flickered with confusion. You came here to fight, not to... You're a warship. We're humans, Nari said simply. Every one of our ships carries medical facilities and disaster relief supplies. We learned a long time ago that war creates wounded people, and leaving them to suffer helps no one. Ambassador Hyunwoo leaned forward. Administrator, I know what you read about us. I know what the Council shared with you. None of it was lies. Humanity does have a violent history. We fought wars that would horrify most species. We created weapons that could destroy entire worlds. Then why shouldn't we fear you? Kelleran asked. She needed to know the answer. Because we learned, Hyunwoo said quietly. Every species reaches a point where they must choose. Continue the cycle of violence or break it. We chose to break it. But breaking the cycle doesn't mean forgetting how to fight. It means knowing when to fight and, more importantly, when to stop. On the Indomitable, Lieutenant Commander Jiho organized relief efforts with the same precision he used in combat. Medical teams, all volunteers, shuttled down to the planet to help Velnar doctors. Engineering teams worked day and night to repair damaged buildings and systems. Tactical Officer Yuna found herself teaching young Velnar students about human culture. She had expected them to be afraid of her, but they were curious. They asked many questions. Is it true humans still eat meat? One young Velnar asked nervously. Some do, Yuna admitted honestly. But many don't. We have the choice now. That's what civilization gave us. Choices our ancestors didn't have. She showed them pictures of Earth. The students stared at the images of cities that sparkled under blue skies, forests that humans protected instead of destroyed, and oceans full of life. Your world is beautiful, the young Velnar said with surprise. We almost destroyed it, Yuna told them honestly. 200 years ago, we poisoned our air and water. We killed many species, but we learned to fix what we broke. We learned that protecting something is harder than destroying it, but much more important. At the Galactic Council Observation Station, Speaker Thurim-Al watched the feeds from the colony surface. He couldn't understand what he was seeing. The humans worked without rest, asking for nothing in return. Their warships, so deadly in combat, had transformed into aid vessels. I don't understand, Vesuna admitted. Their capacity for violence is clear. We saw it. But this, Ambassador Hyunwoo, watching through a hologram connection, chose his words carefully. You're seeing what we've tried to tell the Council? Yes, we're predators. Yes, we evolved as hunters. But we also evolved to be social creatures, to form communities, to protect the vulnerable. A human parent will die to protect their child. A human soldier will sacrifice everything for their team. These aren't contradictions. They're two sides of the same coin. He gestured to the feed showing human medical teams working beside Velnar doctors. We're dangerous because we had to be, but we're also compassionate because we chose to be. That choice, Speaker, is what makes us human. Back on the colony, Administrator Kelleran stood outside a medical facility that had been bombed into rubble just days ago. Now human engineers had it working again. Inside, Chief Medical Officer Sola worked alongside Velnar doctors. Her movements were efficient but gentle. Kelleran walked in hesitantly. Dr. Sola? The human looked up and smiled. Administrator, the young patient in bed 7, Crintel, is recovering well. He'll be back with his family tomorrow. Thank you, Kelleran said. The words felt too small for what she wanted to express. I must admit, you're not what I expected. Sola's smile turned sad. We rarely are. The galaxy sees our warships and weapons. They don't see the billions of humans who will never fire a shot in anger. People who spend their lives healing, teaching, creating. We're not perfect, Administrator, but we're trying. That evening, Kelleran received an unexpected visitor. Captain Nari asked to speak with her privately. They met on an observation platform under the stars. I wanted to apologize, Nari said, surprising Kelleran. My crew heard your message. The one where you begged us not to come. It hurt them. Not because you insulted us, but because they realized how much fear the galaxy holds for humanity. Kelleran felt shame burn through her. Captain, No, Nari interrupted gently. You don't need to apologize. You were protecting your people based on the information you had. That's what a good leader does. But I want you to understand something. Nari pointed up at the human fleet in orbit. Every person on those ships volunteered for this mission. When I asked who wanted to risk their lives for people they'd never met, every hand went up. Do you know why? Kelleran shook her head. Because we remember what it's like to need help and have nobody come. In our history, there were times when innocent people called for help and nobody answered. Millions died because others were too afraid or too selfish to act. We swore that when we reached the stars, we would never ignore a call for help. Never. But why? Kelleran asked. You gain nothing from this. You risk your lives in ships for strangers. Nari looked at her with calm eyes. We gain something very important. We get to sleep at night knowing we did the right thing. We get to look at ourselves in the mirror and like what we see. That's worth more than any territory or resources. Kelleran looked up at the human warships. A few days ago, she had thought they were harbingers of doom. Now she understood they were something far more complex. They were ships built for war, crewed by people who chose peace whenever possible. You're not monsters, she said quietly. No, Nari agreed, but we could be. That's what makes the choice important. Every day, every human chooses to be better than our worst instincts. That's harder than being a monster. Monsters don't have to choose. As night deepened, Kelleran watched human engineers working on repairs by floodlight. They laughed and joked with each other as they worked. They shared food with Velnar workers. They were gentle with children who came to watch. These were the galaxy's most feared predators. These were the people who could dismantle a pirate fleet in less than an hour. And they were using those same hands to rebuild a children's hospital. Kelleran finally understood what Ambassador Hyunwoo had meant. The most dangerous thing about humanity wasn't their capacity for violence. It was their capacity for both violence and compassion, wielded with equal skill. They were predators who had learned to protect instead of hunt. And the galaxy, she realized, didn't need to fear that. The galaxy needed more of it. Captain Nari stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the stars blur past as her fleet rushed through space at maximum speed. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around her, the bridge crew worked quickly and quietly. They had done this many times before. 15 hours until we reached the Velnar system, reported Lieutenant Commander Jiho. He was young but very skilled at coordinating fleet movements. His fingers danced across his control panel, making sure all 37 ships stayed in perfect formation. Tactical Officer Yuna studied the enemy ships on her screen. She had short hair and a focused expression that never changed during combat. "I count 74 Carvax vessels, Captain. Standard pirate configuration. They're taking turns shooting at the planetary shields. The Velnar have maybe 40 hours before the shields collapse completely." Nari nodded. The Carvax were brutal pirates who had terrorized the outer regions of the galaxy for years. They attacked weak colonies, stole everything valuable, and killed anyone who resisted. They grew bold because nobody could stop them. Most council fleets were too slow or too far away. Today they would learn that humans were neither slow nor far away. "Communications, send a message to the Velnar colony," Nari ordered. "Tell them help is coming. Send it on an open channel so the pirates hear it too." Do-hyun, the communications officer, sent the message. A few minutes later, his face changed. He looked confused and hurt. "Captain, we're receiving a response from the Velnar colony administrator. They're telling us not to come." Everyone on the bridge stopped working. They all looked at the captain. "Play it," Nari said quietly. A hologram appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed a Velnar female. Her bioluminescent skin flickered with patterns that showed fear and stress. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Human vessels, this is Administrator Kelarin of the Velnar colony. We received your message about coming to help us. We are grateful that you heard our distress call, but we must ask you to turn back. Please do not come." She paused and her patterns flickered faster. "The Galactic Council sent us information about your species. We have read about your wars, your weapons, your history of violence. We know what you are capable of doing. We would rather die with honor than be enslaved by creatures like you. Please, we beg you, leave us alone." The message ended. The bridge was completely silent. Nari saw the pain on her crew's faces. Do-hyun looked like someone had hit him. Yuna's hands had formed into fists. Even Jiho, who was always calm, looked upset. "They think we're monsters," Jiho said. His voice sounded flat and empty. "They don't know us," Nari replied. She stood up from her command chair. "They only know what the council told them. They know our history, but they don't know who we are now. They will learn. Ready all ships for combat. Battle formation Sierra 7. The Carvax are about to discover why predators protect their pack." On the lead Carvax ship called the Blood Taker, Warlord Krex received the alert about the approaching human fleet. He laughed when he heard the news. Humans? He had heard stories about them, but stories were just stories. He had killed thousands of beings across a dozen worlds. His reputation made other pirates fear him. 37 ships against my 74. Krex laughed again. "Let them come. We'll add their ships to our collection." His second-in-command looked worried. "Sir, the reports say humans are very dangerous in combat." Perhaps you should be silent," Krex snarled. "Go back to your station before I throw you out an airlock." The second-in-command left quickly. Krex stared at the display showing the approaching human fleet. He had fought council peacekeepers before. They were weak and slow, always worried about following rules. These humans would be no different. Far away in council space, Speaker Thurimal and the other observers watched the human fleet approach the Velnar system. They had set up special observation posts to monitor everything that would happen. Every species wanted to see what the humans would do. Vesuna studied the tactical displays nervously. "They're not slowing down. They're going to arrive at full combat speed." "Aggressive," Thurimal noted. His tentacles trembled slightly. "Very aggressive." Ambassador Hyunwoo stood nearby watching the same displays. His face showed no emotion. "You're about to see what humans do when innocent people are in danger." "That's what we're afraid of," Vrethnal muttered. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Velnar system. They appeared suddenly like ghosts emerging from darkness. Immediately they began moving into position with a precision that made the observers gasp. "Look at that formation," Vesuna whispered. "Every ship knows exactly where to go. They've practiced this hundreds of times." Warlord Krex received the alert that the human ships had arrived. He opened a communication channel, ready to threaten them and make them run away. He had done this many times before with other fleets. "So the Council sends their pet Death Worlders?" Krex's voice was full of mockery. "I expected more ships. Maybe the stories about humans were lies. Turn around now and I'll let you run home with your—" Captain Nari's voice cut him off. It was calm and cold. "Target their weapons arrays, fire." The Indomitable fired its weapons and the battle began. What happened next would be studied in military schools for many years to come. The human ships didn't charge forward in a wild attack. They didn't try to win through superior numbers or better technology. Instead, they moved like a pack of wolves circling prey. Each ship moved with purpose, as if controlled by a single mind. Jiho coordinated the attack. Strike Group Taeyang, move to flanking position Delta. Mino Squadron, drive them toward the gravity well. Yuna, target their flagship but don't destroy it. Disable it. The Karvax pirates suddenly found themselves fighting an enemy they didn't understand. They were used to attacking helpless merchant ships and weak colonies. They had never fought anyone who knew combat the way humans knew combat. Yuna's fingers moved across her controls like a musician playing an instrument. Bloodtaker is trying to escape. They're attempting to break orbit. Let them run to the outer system, Nari ordered. Then cut them off. I want Krex alive to face justice for his crimes. On the Karvax ships, panic spread. The pirates had better numbers, but the humans fought with a skill they had never seen before. Every human move served multiple purposes. When one human ship attacked, it also positioned another ship for a better shot. When they defended, they created opportunities to attack. At the Council observation post, the observers watched in shocked silence. Vesuna's 4 eyes were wide with disbelief. They're not just fighting. Every movement has multiple purposes. They're herding the pirates like animals. This is why we feared them, Thurimal said quietly. They don't just fight. They've studied war for thousands of years. They've perfected it. Ambassador Hyunwoo spoke, and his words made everyone in the observation post feel cold. You're watching them hold back. On the surface of the Velnar colony, Administrator Kailaran watched the battle through sensors. She had prepared her people for the worst. She expected to see the pirates destroyed and then new conquerors arrive to claim their world. But something strange was happening. The human ships fought with incredible precision, but not a single shot went toward the planet. Every weapon fired hit exactly what it was aimed at. When pirate ships exploded, the humans made sure the debris didn't fall toward the colony. They're protecting us, Kailaran whispered in shock. Even while fighting, they're making sure we stay safe. The battle lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, 63 Karvax ships were floating in space, disabled but not destroyed. 11 ships had been destroyed, but only after their crews had time to evacuate. Warlord Krex's flagship was caught in a tractor beam, powerless and defeated. Captain Nari opened a communication channel to the planet. Administrator Kailaran, this is Captain Nari of the Indomitable. The threat has been neutralized. We're setting up a defensive perimeter and will stay until Council peacekeepers arrive. You're safe now. There was a long silence. Then Kailaran asked a single question. Why? Nari understood what she was really asking. Because you called for help. That's reason enough. The alarm screamed through the Galactic Council chambers. Every species representative looked up at the giant screens floating in the center of the room. Red lights flashed across the star map, showing a colony in terrible danger. Speaker Thurimal raised his 6 arms to quiet the panicked voices. His species had led the council for 300 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The Velnar colony was under attack, and they had maybe 3 days before everyone there would die. The Velnar were peaceful people. They had no weapons and no armies. They spent their time writing books, making art, and studying the stars. Now 74 pirate ships surrounded their planet, shooting at the shields that protected 17 million innocent lives. Vesuna, the military coordinator, studied the tactical display with her 4 eyes. She was a Trelnak, a species known for careful planning. But today, her careful plans meant nothing. Every council fleet is too far away, she said in a quiet voice. The Velnar shields will fail in 3 days. Our fastest ships need at least 2 weeks to get there. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that silence meant. The Velnar people would die, and the council could do nothing to help them. Then Vesuna spoke again, and her voice shook. There is one fleet close enough to arrive in time. Nobody needed to ask which fleet. They all knew. The human fleet. Thurimal felt his skin turn cold. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council only 40 years ago, and every species still feared them. The Council had studied Earth carefully before allowing humans to join. What they found scared them deeply. Earth was a death world. It was a planet where everything tried to kill everything else. The animals there had teeth, claws, and venom. Even the plants could be deadly. Humans had evolved on this nightmare world by becoming the deadliest predators of all. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what humans did to each other. While most species had a few small wars in their history, humans had thousands. They fought each other for food, for land, for ideas, even for their gods. They created weapons that could burn entire cities in seconds. They built bombs that could poison a planet for generations. The Council had recordings of human wars. They watched in horror as humans destroyed their own cities, killed millions of their own kind, and seemed to enjoy creating new ways to kill. When humans finally reached the stars, every species asked the same question. Should we let them join us, or should we destroy them first? In the end, the Council voted to let them join. But nobody forgot what humans were capable of doing. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood up from his seat. He was tall for a human, with dark hair turning gray at the edges. His face showed no emotion as he walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye followed him. Some species moved away from him as if afraid he might attack. The Velnar need help, Hyunwoo said simply. His voice was calm and steady. Yes, Thurimal replied carefully. But Ambassador, you must understand our concern. Your people are, your military capabilities are, you're afraid of what we'll do, Hyunwoo finished for him. You think we'll save the Velnar and then conquer them. You think we'll use this as an excuse to take their planet? The silence that followed confirmed his words. Besuna's tactical display showed the human fleet's position. 37 warships, each one named after ancient predators or weapons. The Indomitable, the Relentless, the Unbreakable. The names alone sounded like threats. Councillor Vrethanal spoke up. He was a Corvian, a bird-like species that valued peace above all else. Ambassador, we have read your history. We know that on Earth, strong nations often conquered weak ones. We know that humans hunted other species to extinction for sport. We know that you still eat meat, that you teach your children war games, that you build weapons even in times of peace. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Everything you said is true. We have a dark history. We won't deny that. Then how can we trust you? Vrethanal asked. The Velnar are defenseless. If we send you to help them, what stops you from staying? What stops you from turning their planet into a human colony? Before Hyunwoo could answer, a new message appeared on the screens. It came from the human fleet. Captain Nari had sent a short transmission. We have received the distress call from the Velnar colony. The Indomitable and her fleet are already moving to intercept. Estimated arrival in 18 hours. Thurimal's tentacles trembled. They're already going? Without authorization? Hyunwoo met his eyes. Humanity answers distress calls, speaker. We don't wait for permission to help people who are dying. It's who we are. But the council must vote, Besuna started to say. Then vote, Hyunwoo interrupted. But know this. Whether you authorize it or not, whether you trust us or not, Captain Nari and her fleet will be there in 18 hours. They will fight the pirates. They will protect the Velnar. And then they will wait for the council's peacekeepers to arrive before they leave. Vrethanal made a sound of disbelief. You expect us to believe you'll just leave? After risking your ships and your people? Hyunwoo pulled up a display showing Earth. The blue and green planet rotated slowly. 200 years ago, my species almost destroyed our homeworld. We poisoned our air and water. We nearly made ourselves extinct. Do you know what saved us? Nobody answered. We learned to be better, Hyunwoo continued. We learned that being strong doesn't mean conquering the weak. We learned that real strength is protecting others even when it costs you something. Yes, we're predators. Yes, we know how to kill, but we also know how to save. The question isn't whether we can help the Velnar. The question is whether you'll let us do it officially or whether we do it alone. The council had no real choice. Thurimal called for a vote and the authorization passed, but as the meeting ended, he pulled Hyunwoo aside. We will be watching, Ambassador. Very carefully, Hyunwoo nodded. I would expect nothing less. But Speaker, you should know something. The humans going to help the Velnar? They volunteered. When Captain Nari asked who wanted to face a pirate fleet to save people they've never met, every single person on every single ship raised their hand. That's who we are now. That's who we chose to become. As Hyunwoo left the chamber, Thurimal watched him go. Then he looked at the star map, where the human fleet was already racing toward the Velnar colony. In 18 hours, the galaxy would see what humanity really was. Thurimal just hoped they had made the right choice. Because if they hadn't, if Hyunwoo was wrong about his people, then the council had just sent the galaxy's most dangerous predators to devour helpless prey. The waiting began.